Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast started by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Antony Draper, the business clarity coach for founders behind Chaos to Clarity. He guides high-performing founders of businesses generating from 500K up to 10 million in revenue. For example, SaaS companies, agencies, coaching services, from operational chaos to scalable systems, delegation blueprints, and leadership rhythms without burnout. His 90-day tactical implementation program and 12-month sales acceleration blueprint deliver bottleneck audits, CEO execution rhythms, and revenue-tied results through structured sprints. With that being said, Antony, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you for having me, Milan. I'm really pleased to be here.
It's great to have you, man. We're going to jump into the conversation right away. What I love to do with every single one of my guests is a bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
Oh, wow. Well, just so you know, I've been around for a little while, so there's quite a bit to go back to. I actually spent 11 years in the Royal Navy, in the Fleet Air Arm, which was the aircraft side of the Navy. And most people don't realize that the Navy has its own pilots, its own aircraft, its own carriers. And I worked in that world. And if you've never seen a carrier deck in full swing, it's hard to describe. You've got an aircraft landing and launching, fuel lines everywhere, ordnance being moved, people in different colored jerseys, all doing different jobs. And it's all happening on that platform that's pitching and rolling in the middle of the ocean. And it's been called the most dangerous workplace on earth. And that's not marketing. People die when procedures kind of break down. But what that environment really teaches you is that chaos isn't the enemy, it's unmanaged chaos is. You can kind of operate at incredibly high tempo and genuinely life or death stakes, but only if everyone knows exactly what their role is, only if the communication protocols are drilled in, only if the systems are so clear that people can make decisions without waiting for permission. And I remember early on watching a more experienced operator handle a situation that would have paralyzed me. And I asked him afterwards, how did you know what to do? And he said something that really stuck with me. I didn't have to think. The system told me what to do. My job was just to execute. And that's when I understood that the best operators aren't the ones making heroic decisions under pressure. They're the ones who built systems so good that the decisions are obvious and they don't have to worry about it.
I
So,
love that.
yeah, so that was, I left actually in 2005 and I thought, do you know what? I could take that and apply it anywhere. But unfortunately, I was wrong, at least initially. I started a business helping others kind of transition out of the forces, because I had a poor experience doing that when I was leaving the forces, but it failed, and it properly failed. I hit a real financial hardship, but I drew on that kind of discipline and tackled the debt with precision. And I vowed never to go back there and rebuilt myself. I spent the next 15 years in corporate, working for large organizations, Hewlett Packard, Capita, working with Deloitte, Ernst Young, PwC, building real expertise in sales operations and what actually makes businesses scale. And the funny thing is, every time I stepped into a struggling business, I'd see the same problems we solved on the carrier deck. No clear roles, no operating rhythm. Everyone was waiting for the boss to make decisions. Chaos, but the wrong kind.
Yeah, I love
Does
this,
that
man.
paint a
Yeah,
picture?
it does paint a picture. Hell yeah. I love the story, man. Obviously, one thing that I love is just keeping this content real, and this is what I always end up talking about on the podcast. Business, it's never a linear journey, right? There's always going to be some ups and downs. So this is what I want to share with the audience that we have, right? The good stuff, the exciting stuff, but also the not so good stuff. So I really appreciate you being a little bit vulnerable and sharing that stuff with us. Now, let's talk about where this journey overall got you. I'm sure there was a lot of pivoting, a lot of adjusting, but let's talk about the business today, and more specifically, I want the listeners to really understand who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are the core offerings that you have in place for your clients. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, I mean, so thank you, Milan. I mean, I you kind of touched on it earlier on. So I mean, I kept seeing the same pattern. Founders who built something real, and they normally were between kind of 500,000 and 10 million turnover with, I don't know, 20 to 50 people, sometimes smaller, but normally around that. And they were completely stuck. Not because they lacked ambition or skill, but because the business had outgrown them. They'd grown by hustle, by being everywhere at once, by sheer force of will. And now they couldn't step back without things falling apart. So every decision still ran through them. And they'd become the most expensive employee in their own company, doing kind of $50, £50 an hour work because they didn't trust anyone else to do it. So the business couldn't survive without them. And honestly, most of them, when I came across them, were exhausted. So, I mean, in terms of the evolution of my offer, so I started as a fractional coup, stepping into businesses, kind of sorting out the operational mess, and then moving on. And it was effective, but it wasn't scalable. I was just swapping one person's chaos for my own. And I realized that the value wasn't in me doing the work, it was in the methodology, the systematic way that I diagnosed problems, built kind of operating systems and rhythms, created dashboards, clarified roles, and installed processes. So I finally decided that I was going to package that up. And I put together the Chaos to Clarity kind of implementation sprint. And I'm also just about to launch a 12-week group program called Chaos to Command, where I kind of teach founders to build their own leadership operating systems. So to back that up, I've actually just written a book, which I'm actually launching this week. So that's going to be on Amazon, and I'll actually use that as part of my funnel. So people are going to come in. So the shift was really from I'll fix it for you to I'll teach you how to fix it yourself, and it'll actually stick. So that's where I've kind of come from.
Love it. So you're basically shifting from done for you to done with you. So you're basically leaning more towards the consulting side of things. Correct. Awesome. Now, you've mentioned the book as a part of your funnel, and this is a great point because what I also want to talk about is the back end side of the business. We all know that to succeed with a project like this, client acquisition is one of the key parts, right? So I'm also curious, like, what is everything that you do on the front of marketing and really specifically generating leads for yourself to make all of this even happen?
Yeah, a good question, Milan. I mean, I've built a kind of diagnostic first funnel. So everything starts with what I call the chaos scorecard. And it is a self-assessment tool that helps founders kind of see exactly where their operational gaps are. So it scores them across 7 dimensions, kind of operating rhythm, strategic visibility, role clarity, systems maturity, leadership capability, and scalability readiness as well. And so by the time someone books a discovery call, they already know their score. So they've seen where they're bleeding, I suppose. And the conversation becomes about whether they want help fixing it, not where there's a problem. So the
Mhm.
funnel is kind of content on LinkedIn, book on Amazon, scorecard, discovery call, and then kind of program enrollment. It's simple, but it qualifies hard. I only want founders who kind of recognize that they're the bottleneck and are ready to do something about it. The amount of people that I do get to talk to who understand they've got a problem, but they don't want to actually get out of it. They like being needed.
Yeah. I'm also curious, what is your perspective on social media playing a part in such a strategy, though? I had a pleasure of talking to several people from your industry. Some think that leveraging on the potential of Facebook, Instagram for content creation and really engaging with your audience is there because the founders and business owners are there. Some people feel like it's smarter to just stick with LinkedIn as a more of a professional platform. What are your thoughts on leveraging on other social platforms aside from LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I know they work. I mean, I've worked with other founders as well, where we've been in kind of professional service industries, and some of our best platforms have been Instagram and Facebook, where where people have been kind of doom scrolling at night. Maybe even CEOs and directors of boards are still doom scrolling or doing something at night time or whatever it may be. And if something catches their attention, they're still there. And I feel actually, I can't remember what the figures are with Google, but I think it's 7, 11, 4, whatever it is. across multiple. So in essence, it's not just the number of contacts, but it's across multiple platforms, and people need to be seeing you all over the place. I mean, you look at the market nowadays, even the CEO of Microsoft or anywhere like that, they're all over the place now across multiple platforms because they need to be seen to be out there. Because we are in a trust recession, and people do want to be able to trust people. They much rather trust an individual more so than the brand. And so, actually, what multiple platforms do is enable the company to actually get the individual seen by a lot wider audience, but also a different lens for each of the audiences as well. So in short, the answer is get out as many platforms as you can. YouTube is another good one, of course. Yeah, there we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, so far we've been talking mainly about the content, which is on the side of organic. And I know for a fact there's a lot of frustration when it comes to sources coming from organic, especially like word of mouth, getting referrals. These are the best kind of leads that you could get. Obviously, we all know that. But at the same time, there is a lot of inconsistency with such sources, right? Especially if you compare it to like paid advertisement on social media. Has this already been a part of your strategy, or are you trying to dabble into paid ads in the future to see if you can create something more predictable, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think paid ads plays a part of it as well as organic. If I'll be honest with you, when you're testing a funnel, when you're testing a product or a message to the market, one of the quickest ways you can do that is through paid ads. Don't get me wrong, the ads are getting more and more expensive. There's more and more competition on there at the moment, and we've just gone through a season of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas is coming up. So yeah, there's even more competition, especially from an e-commerce perspective. But paid ads will actually play a very good part to test early and actually to start getting that traction out there. And then you can complement that with the organic because the organic also comes across as a lot more trustworthy. Yeah, because with your organic, you're actually showing, especially if you're an individual founder or you've got a face of the business, you're actually able to get some of those case studies out there. You're able to share some of your own personality, and there's an ability to actually build trust quicker.
Absolutely. I feel like when it comes to the organic side of everything, basically what you said yourself a couple of minutes ago, the more you can do, the better. You should definitely master one platform and then move to the next one and just add on top of what you've already built. But also when it comes to running paid ads, the best kind of scenario is when it runs at the same time and is basically creating this symbiosis, right? So that's definitely a great idea. Now, when it comes to doing all of these activities, there is a lot that's going on. So I'm also curious whether you've already built your internal teams for maybe marketing, sales, fulfillment, other departments, or whether that's a part of what you want to do in the future.
Well, so yeah. So of course it is. So I mean, if I'll be honest with you, I've got a very lean and intentional team. They're small at the moment, and they cover anything from client delivery, support, tech stack, everything around that. But marketing to me is the one where I need the most support because we need to get more and more out there to get heard. It's a busy world out there. I don't just look at social media or online marketing as the only channel for any organization, if there's an ability to do some offline stuff as well, where they can do speaking engagements or they can go to networks or whatever it may be, those are also opportunities. But of course, they're being brought back online as well with the interviews that go on and everything else. But yeah, certainly from a marketing perspective, I'm a big believer that if you can get a big team to actually do it or outsource that, if you don't, that's what you must do. And if you don't do that, you won't get heard in the market.
Absolutely. I would love to get a little bit more clarity on terms of how you approach the scalability of your project, because you just mentioned as a part of your team, there's some people working on client delivery, right? And the fulfillment side of everything. So would you say that the model for scaling that you've implemented is basically hiring other coaches to work under you and deliver on the promises that you make to the companies that you work with? Or would it be more something towards like creating group consulting space for people, or what is that idea there?
A very good question. In fact, actually, what I'm doing is I'm building towards a £5 million business over the next few years, and the model is group coaching as the primary revenue driver because that's the scalable bit, supported by selective high ticket consulting for founders kind of want more hands-on support. And then eventually I will be looking at community membership and licensing to certified practitioners. Because the beauty of the program model is I'm not just trading, hours for money. I can impact 15 founders at once instead of one, and they get better results because they're implementing alongside peers who understand their challenges as well.
Very true. When it comes to group and the sense of community and belonging to something bigger than myself, it has also been scientifically proven how much you can actually grow and the educational piece of everything. You can just absorb the information better, get inspired by other people pretty much going through the same journey. So I would 100% agree with you, and it's lovely to see that. Now, when it comes to let's talk about the future in more depth. You already said that you're planning on create a $5 million business in the next couple of years. When you look at your short-term goals, maybe the next 6 to 12 months, what would you say are those biggest targets, goals, revenue, milestones, whatever comes to your mind?
Three things then. Okay. First, fill cohorts consistently. I want to be running quarterly intakes of a 12-week program with 10 to 15 founders each. Second, build the content engine, LinkedIn, podcast appearances like this, partnerships, so the funnel feeds itself. And third, prove the model well enough that I can start licensing it. That should be the next 6 to 12 months. Then after that, yeah, we can look at. I'm looking at incubators at the moment for opportunities to help startups in terms of getting funding and growing as well. Maybe start up a couple of companies later down the line as well, some other companies. So yeah, that's what my plans are.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
very exciting, though. Yeah,
let me just add, Milan. Sorry to cut over you. I've got a couple of philanthropy pieces that I want to do as well, and that's going to be beyond the 12 months. One is I want to be able to do like a Dragon's Den or a Shark Tank for teenagers, where we actually take their ideas, test them in the market, and give them an opportunity to
oh,
succeed
wow.
before they actually leave education, and they've got something to step into when they do. And the other one is I'm military, ex-military. So one of the things I'd like to do is maybe even start something where we look at masterminds where I get ex-military people to actually chair those masterminds across possibly the UK, possibly wider. There you
There is a lot of variety in terms of what you want to do. I'm loving this. But also, what I would love to do is build on what you've mentioned with the licensing. If there is anybody else, because that's a very exciting idea. So I want to leverage on that. And if there's anybody listening to this podcast right now and they're maybe already a part of your industry and are looking for a bit of inspiration, what is your idea specifically when it comes to licensing? How is this an opportunity that is so attractive to you that you want to explore that further?
Yeah, okay, good question. So I need to probably delineate myself from franchising. Don't want to do franchising. I've been involved in franchising. I don't like the franchise model. I know it can work for some, but I think for a lot of people it puts them in a very bad position, and not everyone succeeds in franchising. So really, it would be more a case of a licensing model where people would actually come on, would train and be able to represent Antony Draper, um, and actually work on behalf of the company. Now, of course, there can be some licensing models that profit share or whatever it may be. But what I don't want to do is sell a business in a box. That's not going to work. So that's the kind of licensing model that I'm looking
Beautiful. Anthony, now with all of those goals in mind and all these paths that you want to explore and some of those that you need to create first, out of everything, what would you say is going to be the biggest challenge in terms of this kind of scale and growth in the future?
My biggest challenge is going to be capital and attention constraints. Some of, same as most bootstrap founders, I've chosen not to raise money because I want to build this properly, not chase the hockey stick growth that comprises, that or compromises the methodology. And the honest truth is, I could scale faster if I was willing to kind of water down the program, increase cohort sizes, reduce personal involvement, but then it wouldn't work. The results come from intensity and accountability, and I'm building for sustainability and not vanity metrics.
Mhm. Beautiful. Now, before we wrap it up, Anthony, I'm going to ask you my last question. This is one of my favorite ever. So, considering you've been in business for quite some time now, if you could travel back in time, and speak to your younger self, maybe at the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
So if I was to go back to when I had my business that failed, I would say build the systems before you need them. Most founders wait until they're drowning to think about operations. By then, you're firefighting instead of building. Put in basic operating rhythms, a weekly meeting, a simple dashboard, clear ownership of key metrics from day one, and your future self will thank you.
Beautiful. I love to finish on a bit of wisdom, so thank you for sharing that. And Anthony, also in general, just thank you for taking the time today, sharing the lovely journey with me and the entire audience. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, get in touch, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go about it?
Yeah, just Antony at AntonyDraper.com. Antony without an H, Antomy. AntonyDraper.com. Please give me an email or link up with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you again. Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a coach or consultant, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing, and I'll see you on the next one.